Hi, Kate. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Gal. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I know you're so busy. Can't imagine juggling all the things you're doing. And first of all, I want to say that I'm sorry about the Bills, 'cause I know you're a big fan.
I am a big fan. That was
Yeah.
a tough loss. I think
Oh,
it was a tough loss because there were just some interesting calls made by the refs that were tough for us to
yeah.
handle as a team. However, we are a resilient community, so we always keep saying, hopefully it's our year the next year.
Yeah,
So
that's right. And it was such a close game too. That must have been a
it was.
heartbreak.
It
Yeah.
was. And we're definitely rooting for the Eagles at this point. So we're
Hmm.
excited to see how that turns out. But
Yeah.
we're looking forward to hopefully winning a Super Bowl in 2025.
Yeah. Okay. Go Bills.
Yes, go Bills.
So you are a professional journalist, and in case people don't know you, you're doing something very different. Well, you're still a professional journalist, but you started as a news reporter, right? And now you're doing something quite different from that. So I wanted you to tell the listeners about that. And was there a catalyst for this change in your what you're doing with your life?
Sure. Yeah. So I was a TV journalist for about 8 years, 8 to 10 years. I say that because I still dabble in TV journalism. I host a daily, I should say, a weekly segment every Wednesday on our News 4 CBS affiliate here in Buffalo. It's called Hope Rises, which is my brand. We focus on a really uplifting story from our community for that segment. So I still dabble in it. I actually fill in host for Chelsea Lavelle, who is on Daytime Buffalo whenever she is out. I am
Wow.
in the anchor seat for her.
Wow.
So I still dabble in TV journalism and hosting and commercial work, but my passion now is running Hope Rises, which is my own brand. And it's all about positivity and uplifting news, but it's also about giving back to our community. So we've surpassed over $800,000. We're coming up on $900,000 raised for the Western New York community, which encompasses Buffalo, New York, and the surrounding area. We keep all the money local. It helps those in our community who are in crisis or, having challenge or someone who's down on their luck. We really try to support those individuals in our community. So it's just amazing how much it's grown. We started in 2017 and, grew the brand for a few years and then launched our nonprofit in 2021. And so far, we've raised a lot of money for some really good causes. So I am just thrilled that we can continue to ignite hope throughout our community and across the globe.
Mm-hmm. So what made you move to doing this from being a news reporter? Like, why this focus on hope? What happened to make you do that?
Yeah, so I also worked in nonprofit work for a long time. So in between working as a TV journalist and also running my own brand, I worked at the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which is also known as Make-A-Wish. I worked at an organization called Mercy Flight, and it was all about helicopter aviation, saving lives for those who are critically ill or injured. So I was able to really see the impact of nonprofit work. It's always been something I've loved doing. And I guess I hit my glass ceiling at my last job where I was in nonprofit. And I knew that I could do so much more on my own and kind of be my own boss and kind of lead the direction that I wanted to leave. As far as growing and connecting with others. So I just decided to take my idea of launching a blog and make it a full-time job. And I certainly had, a lot of contacts that I could sort of lean into as far as making money, because when you start a brand, you don't always make a lot of money. It takes a while for you to actually, I feel like, make money. Sometimes people get lucky and they make money right away, but a lot of people, it really takes a lot of, you know, perseverance and
Hmm.
kind of just working every single day, not having a day off. But I was able to leave my full-time job from working in nonprofit, and I started my own marketing business and also leaned into the blog idea. And we were able to just kind of continue posting stories that went viral. We had a lot of different things go viral. So now we are at a very big following as far as, social media goes. We have a very active Instagram, a very active like TikTok and Facebook. We also, tell stories all the time on our blog and our website. So it's just a nonstop sort of process, but it's amazing to see how many people we've been able to help and support and really change lives one story at a time.
Yeah, it's incredible. Of course, I follow all those things, and that's how I heard about you, and I was just amazed at what you're doing. So
Yeah, thank you.
I think I've heard the story, but maybe some people haven't about what happened with the blog. Like there was a real turning point, wasn't there, early on about one of the first viral posts? Can you tell that
Yeah,
story?
yeah, sure. So, just was kind of chugging along trying to, keep churning videos and stories and all that, and was able to have a very viral post, thanks to none other than Alec Baldwin was the first celebrity to share it. But it was a story about a little girl fighting cancer who had lost her hair.
Mm,
And it was just documenting kind of her journey through losing her hair and how her parents reacted to that. And sometimes it's just the way you tell a story. Sometimes it's when you post. You never know what's going to go viral, but luckily this one did. And we went from like 3,000 followers on Instagram to 300,000 followers in a matter of like 2 days.
oh,
So it was just really incredible to see how people latch on to that sort of feel good, sort of movement and good news. And
mhm.
sometimes things are pretty tragic that we tell, but there's always a good spin
Yeah.
usually on our stories. So then there's some positivity that comes out of tragedy. And
Mhm,
that's why we selected the name Hope Rises, is
mhm.
because, in all tragic situations or situations where there's challenge, hope can rise in that situation. And
Yeah.
hope can be the powerful force that you can hang on to or cling to when you
Yeah.
feel like there's nothing else to cling to. So that's why we selected Hope Rises. And it's amazing. And, pediatric cancer is something that we are very, very passionate about. If you go to my page, you'll see that there are a lot of stories that we tell about pediatric cancer
Yeah.
warriors. When I worked at Make-A-Wish, I was able to meet so many warriors that were fighting the battle against pediatric cancer. It's such an unfair situation. There's not many options for these kids.
Yeah.
There needs to be more awareness and funding and resources for families. That just is not there. It's one of the
Mhm,
most underfunded cancers in the entire cancer world, is
mhm.
pediatric cancer.
Yeah.
So it's not rare. It's not something that people should be shying away from. So we definitely lean into pediatric cancer. Um, and hopefully we're able to change people's perspective and minds about supporting those who are in need.
Mhm.
That's the biggest thing we can do is, sometimes I worry about how many people are seeing my post, or if posts are not going viral, why is that happening? But sometimes I have to remind myself that even if we just impact or change one life, that's one life that walks away from our platform in a better space or has
Right.
more support. So I try to remind myself that's really the true impact of a platform like Hope Rises, is how many people we can change their
Right.
lives.
The actual families that you're affecting. So when you say you lean into that cause of pediatric cancer, so um how do you help with the money? Like would you give do you support like a family, or when you said building awareness and resources, do you have a plan for that, or do you ask
Yeah.
the hospital what they need, or how do you do it?
Yeah, so I launched a campaign called Shine Gold
Yeah.
3 years ago. Shine Gold starts in around May timeframe, and it leads into September, which is Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month.
Hmm.
And how we work it is we actually support 4 organizations locally every single year. We change those organizations up. Typically, they're the smaller organizations, the organizations that maybe don't get a lot of money or attention. So we try to bring our platform to their cause.
Hmm.
So we've been able to raise, we just surpassed over 400,000 raised for those charities.
Hmm.
We've been able to help 16 so far. So now we are going on our 20th. I'm sorry, we're going on our 16th
Mhm.
sort of year this year.
Yeah.
We've been able to support 12 organizations so far.
Wow.
So it's just amazing to see how when you put things out there, people respond. Not a lot
Mhm.
of people were supporting pediatric cancer before we launched Shine Gold, and our intent was to go after people that are not in the pediatric cancer space that
Right.
should know about it and should support it, but maybe
Mhm.
they didn't think about supporting it before. So we've been able to kind of turn people's perspective and mindsets to then think about how they can support those fighting pediatric cancer. So we don't just raise money though. We also do a number of events that are free for families throughout our community. So if you've been touched by pediatric cancer, whether you are currently battling it, or you maybe lost a child to pediatric cancer, but the siblings are still impacted, or maybe you're over your pediatric cancer battle, but you're still going through the long-term impact of the treatment that these
Mhm.
kids get and how it really, is a long-term impact. We support all those different families. So
Mm.
we have hundreds of families that utilize our ticket giveaways and our connections and events that we throw. So it's really become a full campaign. And we've been able to do some really cool things, helping support a mental health therapist for teen girls fighting cancer that they now can, get the mental health support they need.
Mm.
Or, helping a young boy who started his own nonprofit be able to do transplant bags for kids at the hospital that are going through
Oh my
transplants.
gosh.
So, or providing bedding for families that need bedding in the hospital because they're not able to sleep on the cot because there's only one cot in the hospital room. We've
Mm.
been able to supply beds for families that want to stay next to their child fighting cancer. So little things like that may not sound like a big deal, but they really are. So it's not like we're turning our money over to research. Research
Yeah.
is very important, but we're
Mhm.
really more of that family oriented
Mhm.
work.
Yeah, and they're
So
local.
that's kind of how we've, and actually this week, which I'm sure this will air after Wednesday,
Mhm.
hopefully.
Yes.
Um, we are we are surprising a family and we are paying for 5 years of their mortgage and plus groceries.
Oh my
So
god.
for 5 years. So we do things like that where in extreme cases we have, a big donor that wants to give a good amount of money. We'll pick a family that really, really could use the support. And we're excited to share this with the mother that we are able to pay for 5 years of her mortgage after losing her husband to stomach cancer and
Oh,
watching her daughter fight leukemia. So,
my oh my gosh.
things like that. It's not that we don't just support pediatric cancer, but it's definitely
Mhm.
one of our top sort of
Yeah,
causes that we lean into.
right. Oh, and they're very big things. They're big deals, you know? I mean, wow, that is incredible. And they're all families in your local, like in Buffalo? Is that
Yeah,
right?
I mean, definitely we support as far as financially, we keep the money
Yeah.
local. So it's
Yeah.
like in our bylaws to keep money local, but we'll
Mhm.
share stories from all across the
Yes.
globe of kids fighting cancer. So, as far as money goes, we have to limit it to just Buffalo, but we'll share stories from all across the globe of
Mhm.
pediatric cancer warriors. But like I said, we do so much more than just pediatric cancer. We
Yes.
do a lot
Yeah.
for veterans, the military. We do a lot for first responders. We, for March, we are actually going to be sponsoring an apartment for a mother and her children who've escaped domestic violence in honor of Women's Month in March. So that's one thing that we do every single year. Domestic violence survivors are something that we're also very passionate about. Our
Mhm.
board also really likes to support mental health support for those in our community. So there's a lot of different things that we do,
Mhm.
but for a couple months in a row, pediatric cancer is one of our main focuses.
Right. That's incredible. I love it. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's awesome.
So, and you talk about storytelling, and you're a storyteller. So, what do you find is so special about that mode of communicating using story, and how do you use it in your work?
Well, stories are everything. Stories are why I sit here today talking to you and I am able to start a platform like Hope Rises. It all comes down to telling stories
Mhm.
and then motivating people to act on the stories that we tell. So without storytelling, we would not be where we are today. It really is the foundation of any mission. It's the foundation of any type of cause or business. I call myself a professional storyteller versus a journalist because it's all about just telling stories. It's all about connecting with people through, written word or communication. So I give a lot of like speeches and talks on the power of storytelling and how that should be at the center of any type of mission or charity or business or
Agreed. Yeah.
someone's like personal goals. It's all about sharing your story and motivating people to want to support you or your mission. So storytelling is everything, I
Mm-hmm.
think.
I agree with you. Yeah, I think it's amazing. So, and you have, I think it looks to me like there's sort of two parts. There's Hope Rises Network and
Mhm.
then Hope Rises News. So is that
Yeah,
correct? And
so
what's the
actually,
difference
like,
between
I'll try to explain the umbrella. So, Hope Rises is like sort of the umbrella. It's our media platform. That's where we started. We
them?
have Hope Rises Network, which is our business. So we are able
Okay.
to have our marketing clients through our business. We are able to, that's how we make our money.
Mhm.
So I have a lot of different clients as far as like social media, branding, PR. That's what I do for a living. That's why I'm so busy all the
Yeah.
time. And then Hope Rises Inc. is the nonprofit. So basically, we have the media platform, we have the network, and then Hope Rises Inc. is our charity. So we're all volunteer. We do not get paid to run the charity. There's no one paid on staff. It's just a lot of good people wanting to do good things.
Mm,
I certainly drive that forward with my husband, but we definitely have a big passion for keeping that very volunteer run, very grassroots, so
mhm,
that people know it's all about the community. But our platform is definitely global,
mhm.
all across the world.
Yeah, and so how do people get stories to you? Just through, yeah, do they message you on social media or?
Yeah, that's the best way. Sometimes it comes through our email, which is also connected to our social media. So we definitely love hearing from people if they ever have a great story, they want to share it. Just because you submit a story doesn't mean that we're going to run it because we
Right.
do get a lot of story submissions. We can't use everything. Um, things on our page have to be very visual. So I will
Mhm.
say that when people submit things to us, if it's not visual, it's very hard to tell the story. Sometimes you can, but
Right.
we really rely on good video and good photos and things like that. But it doesn't always have to be that way. If the story is powerful enough, it doesn't even need imagery or anything like that. But
Right.
so yeah, we get a lot of submissions from those that tune into our platform. So if you have a great story, we're always willing to look at it to see if it fits. And I also hunt down stories all the time. So I'm always looking for stories on TikTok or
Mhm.
Instagram or Facebook, or Reddit has a lot of really great story ideas as well. So also always on the lookout for stories.
Mhm. Mhm. So I don't know how you're doing this because you've got three kids, right?
Mhm. Yes.
And you and your husband would you say do most sort of carry most of the load of this? So how are you managing to do this as a mom of three?
It's hard. I will say, when I get this question, there's really not a ton of work-life balance. It kind of all intermixes.
Mm,
I will say our kids know the power of what we do. They
mhm,
love it. They love to be involved. They like to give back. They like to be at different events and projects and campaigns, and they do a lot of TV stuff with me. They come and they watch, they attend meetings. So they get to see a lot of cool things that we do, but
yeah.
sometimes it is hard. And sometimes it's hard to like shut your brain off from everything. A
Yeah.
marketing brain works 7 days a week. It's not shut off when Friday comes at 5 p.m.
Right.
Marketing brains go throughout the entire weekend, throughout every single day. Sometimes I wake up and I have an idea and I have to write it down. So it is
Mhm.
hard. I like to, do my coffee run. That's kind of like my little saving grace. Sometimes I go get a
Yeah.
coffee, or we do a lot of trips together as a family. So that really helps us. Even though I work sometimes on the trip, it still is nice to get away. So we do travel a lot as a family. and just really try to just make it work every single day. If I look at my calendar, I get overwhelmed sometimes because I have so much going on. But sometimes if I take it hour by hour, day by day,
Yeah.
that's the best way to get through it.
Oh my gosh. And it's a meaningful life that you're leading and your kids are seeing, this beautiful role model in both you and
Thank
your
you.
husband. So
Yeah,
that's
thank you.
lovely. So what about could you share a couple of stories maybe that have really touched you recently? I know for me, oh, I probably can't even talk about it. It was so beautiful. Was the recently the is it Tegan, I think was her name? The young girl with cystic fibrosis.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, that was an incredible story. And
Thank you.
you mentioned just when you were speaking earlier, even there a young boy who's starting his own project. You said it for cancer patients. So, what are some of the stories that have really touched you recently?
Gosh, there's been so many different stories that we tell that are just so great. Tegan was definitely inspiring. She is fighting cystic fibrosis. Her life expectancy is between 21 and 25. Though I do feel like that's actually growing because of the new steroid that has come out that's really helping her. So,
Mm,
um, but it's always looming over her head. Like she's 16 and she's always thinking about her terminal diagnosis. So I can't even imagine how that mentally impacts her,
mm,
but she's number two wrestler, girls wrestler in the entire state of New York. So she is kicking butt, that's for sure.
mhm.
We actually featured her on News 4 on my segment last week,
Yes.
her and her dad.
Mhm.
So Tegan is just a beautiful example of kind of the stories that we tell. It's all about sharing people's journey against something challenging and how they're overcoming that. And she's overcoming that by going to wrestling practice every single day, and coming home and then getting her life-saving treatment while she does her homework. And that's her life. And she loves it. She owns it, which
Yeah.
I give so much credit to people that just own their life and their challenge.
Mhm.
We tell such beautiful stories. I mean, it's nonstop how we can impact people. Whether it's, a military vet who is 104 and he's sharing his story about, what he's done to help our country, or, warriors like Tegan and Colt. Colt is the little boy who started a nonprofit to help others who are going through pediatric cancer by creating bags and doing a mental health podcast. I mean, he's such an inspiration as well. So there's just so many beautiful stories that we share, and I'm just so lucky that people trust me to share their stories, because they don't have to trust Hope Rises to share their stories. And not everyone I reach out to is willing to share their story, and that's something that we don't force anyone to share their story. We don't ever
Right.
take stories without permission. We always make sure that we ask and don't just like repost something. So we really try to make sure we're a trusted, transparent brand that people really, like I said, trust.
Mhm. Mhm. Do you have a vision for, something new or how you're expanding? Is there something different happening? Are you just going to keep doing what you're doing, which is already amazing, but any plans for the future that you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, we are going to be looking at hiring someone for the nonprofit to lead that into the future. So as you can imagine, things are really busy with the nonprofit as we continue to grow and take in more money. So we just were able to apply for a grant to be able to hire someone for the nonprofit, which is amazing. So even
Mhm.
having one person in at even a
Yeah.
part-time role is just so helpful to grow that space. We are also looking to just continue partnering with good brands and people that can spread the word about Hope Rises. Um, we don't really have like a huge plan I mean, we just continue to hit it day by
Yeah.
day and continue to partner with different brands and people. I always say that it's better to collaborate and partner to grow versus
Mhm.
trying to just grow by yourself. So
Mhm.
we're always looking to partner with good brands brands that believe in the power of good and want to latch on to that.
Right. Okay. Well, that's exciting. I can't wait to follow
Yes.
along and see what's happening.
Thank you.
So, I always have a quote for my guests, and I have one for you. So, I wanted to read that to you and have you comment on it in any way you like. So, this quote is from James Baldwin, and it says, "The world changes according to the way people see it. And if you can alter, even by a millimeter, the way people look at reality, then you can change the world." So, how do you feel about that quote? Does it remind you of anything or?
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing to see how you can make an impact on people, whether you are passing by them and you give them a smile, or you compliment them, or you tell a story that you don't think about impacting one person and it really impacts them. So I always say leaving little like glimmers of kindness everywhere you go is so important.
Mhm.
Doesn't have to be anything that is like super big
Yeah.
or I guess meaningful. You just really trying to be kind and leaving those glimmers of just kindness everywhere you go is so important in this world.
Mhm.
This world is really, really tough for a
Yeah.
lot of people. I would say it's tough on every single person, no
Mhm.
matter what they say. There's always going to be a challenging day.
Yeah.
It can be a very dark world, but if we can leave an impression or a lasting impact on people just by being kind,
Yeah.
it also impacts you too. It's not just the person on the
Mhm.
receiving end, but you start to feel lighter when you start
Definitely.
to come out of your shell
Mhm.
and kind of embrace those who are around you. There's days where I don't want to talk to anyone because I feel like I'm just so tired. But
Yes.
I really try to just kind of remind myself that, you know, someone on the receiving end probably needs your kindness as much as you do. So
Right.
I think
Yeah.
that's how I sort of interpret that quote.
Mhm. Mhm. And like you touched on there, even on those days when you're really tired and when we don't feel like reaching out to somebody or talking, it always makes us feel better too, right? Research shows that all the time. So sometimes you don't feel like reaching out, but it does make an impact on the giver as well as the receiver,
100%.
like you say.
100%.
Thank
Yeah.
you. So, there's two questions I ask at the end, but just before that, how can people support you and Hope Rises? What's the best way that they can support you?
Yeah, I think a follow would be amazing. So Hope
Mhm.
Rises Network on Instagram, and it's Hope Rises News on Facebook. I tried switching that to just Hope Rises Network, and I don't know, Facebook is not allowing me to switch my name. So Hope Rises Network, Hope Rises News on Facebook,
Mhm.
and just giving us a follow, engaging. If you would like to get involved in our brand, you're a business or you are brand yourself, or if you're a
Mhm.
marketing sort of agency that represents brands and you want to be involved in our mission and seeing how your brand can tie into Hope Rises, that also is a really great way to get involved. And we can get creative. We've done a lot of cool things with
Mm.
brands. So always looking for different people to partner with.
So can you talk a second about that? What kind of things have you done with brands?
Yeah, I mean, we worked with AAA, like Airbnb, Walt Disney World, things like that, where we've been able to sort of go to different areas of the country and then give back, whether
Mm.
it's, you know, handing out Mickey Mouse ears
Mhm.
to those at Give Kids the World, which is a local resort for kids fighting, you know, critical illness, or you know, things like that, kind of sharing
Okay.
kindness in a different area.
Mhm.
We've done a lot of really cool things with with brands. We actually just partnered with local, well, they're not really local, they're actually worldwide, but they're in Buffalo. It's
Mhm.
a cleaning brand called Ozuna. And
Mhm.
Ozuna is a really great brand for like air fresheners and things like that. It's not like an air freshener, it's like an actual gel that's in
Mhm.
a glass case. I think I might have one out behind me right here.
Okay.
You use this glass case, and this is
Mm.
an Ozuna case,
Mhm.
and it releases just really delicious scents into the air, but it's also cleaning, like purifying your air.
Oh,
So we've been
wow.
able to do some really cool things for, families where we go in and we do a deep clean. We hire like a cleaning
Mm.
company to do a deep clean. Then we leave behind these amazing Azuna sort of products in the house for then the family to come home to and
Oh, yeah.
enjoy. So there's a lot of cool things. We can get really creative with how we work with brands as long as they align with our mission of giving back.
Right. Oh, exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else that I didn't ask you about that you want to share
No,
with us?
no, I think that's
Okay.
good.
Great. Okay. I'm going to ask you the last two questions that I ask everybody. And just, I guess before that, I just want to say thank you for what you're doing with your life. It's amazing. It's really
Yes, of
inspiring.
course.
You're
Of
making
course.
a big, big
Absolutely.
difference. I
Thank
love
you.
it. Okay. Here are the last two questions I always ask. With the understanding that what we shine light on grows, if we imagine a world in which we were to all focus more on fostering love, such as in the ways we focused on here today, what do you think we might see?
Say that again, if you can.
With the understanding that what we shine light on grows, what we focus on grows. If we were to imagine a world in which we were to all focus more on fostering love, such in the ways we focused on here today, what do you think we might see?
I think just seeing the world in a better light, seeing the world in, you know, with kindness goggles, seeing the world in a more positive, optimistic light, I would say.
Mhm. Thank you. And the last question is just what are one or two thoughts, if you had to pare it down, that you hope listeners take away from our conversation today?
I think just the fact that if you have an idea, chase it. It may sound silly to others, but if you have something that you're passionate about or that you want to try, don't
Mhm.
be intimidated by comparing yourself to other people or saying, why am I not growing fast enough? It takes a lot of dedication and work and connecting with people. That's how you grow and that's how you're able to sort of be a little bit what's the word I want to say? Just be a little bit I'm missing my word here, but
Mhm.
just vulnerable. I guess that's the
Mhm.
word. Being
Mhm.
vulnerable and really allowing yourself to just try different things as long as you're passionate about it. So I would say that's probably something that I always try to let people know is just start somewhere and
Yeah.
then continue to put hard work into it and you will grow as you're meant to grow.
Yeah, like you were saying, it took you quite a while, and now look at you. So
Yes,
that's amazing.
absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you so much for talking with us. Thanks a lot, Kate.
Thank you so much for having me.